Are you recording? Yeah.
Now I am, thank you. Yeah, so today we're going to be checking out charts, but we're going to start off with how we're going to claim some night on Monday. Monday is the day that night gets launched, and we want to be ready. We want to be ready for how to purchase some that day. And we're going to go through the process of connecting the wallet to a DEX. We're going to be connecting to a decentralized exchange, and we're going to be swapping ADA for night. Now, we can't do it today, but we're going to go through the process so that you can practice up over the weekend, play this video back a bunch of times, and follow along so that you can be ready for next market analysis on Monday. We're going to go through the process of actually purchasing, making the swap on the exchange. So today, we'll run through what that looks like. The first thing that you'll do is you'll go to sundayswap.finance. That's, let me quickly put it in as a banner here. It's actually v2.sundayswap.finance. You can get there as well from from just the regular domain. Ooh, that's kind of cool. I can tell it just to show for 10 seconds. Awesome. So when we are on that site there, v2.sundayswap.finance, in the top right corner, you're going to connect the wallet. That's the call to action there. Here, you're going to pick the wallet to connect. Now, in this particular profile that I have, I use Lace, but to connect to get Night, I'm going to use Eternal. And the reason why is because this is the wallet that I use to write the smart contracts when we had the scavenger hunt. So I'm segregating my Night by using Eternal. Go there, it says legal disclaimer, blah, 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 and connect to wallet. Now, when I do this, a little thing pops up and says, hey, we are Eternal. Isn't that funny? The Alpha and the Omega. We're the Eternal, and we just noticed that there's a DApp, a decentralized app that wants to connect to your wallet. Are you sure you want to do this? So I'm going to click Grant Access. Then access granted. Now you can see my wallet address is connected up here. So that's my wallet address, my main wallet address. Here's what I got inside that wallet right now. And I just put that there so that we could do this demonstration today on how to make a purchase on SundaeSwap. Now, to go to, let's go to, here we go, overview. That's great. We want to go to, where is they changed the user interface on me. Exchange, there it is. The menu up here, it's got the exchange button. And here we've got the token that we have. So I'm just going to put in 8 because I got only 10 ADA in here right now. Available balance says 903, and that's because there are fees. There are fees to these transactions. So I'm saying 8 right now. It's about $3.32 US. And then here is where I can select the token. So when I click that, it brings up all kinds of tokens, and I can search. The day of, we'll be searching Night. Now it might be, no assets found. So nobody else has even got a coin called Night. When the coin is launched, it'll show up here. What I'm going to do, instead of getting Night today, I'm actually going to get the Sunday token. So this is the official token for SundaeSwap, the exchange. And those 8 ADA are going to get me 1600 Sunday. I click review order. Now, again, on Monday, we're going to select Night. When we're done, we're going to click review order. And it gives, it doesn't say, it's again, no. So it says that I need more more money in there. Okay, well, that's where we're going to do it. Yeah, there could be a Let's go back. Review order. Let's just double check here. Yeah, it could very well be that there's not enough. Oh, yeah, there isn't, because there is a deposit. This is a liquidity deposit that this exchange has. The liquidity deposit's fine. It's a, you get that back when you close this trade, when you close this position. So this is this needs to be there for liquidity so that they can facilitate transactions. Basically, like the pool. It's the pool that is there for you to draw from when you want to make a trade real quick.
Is that a fixed amount? Didn't matter what the size of your trade is?
It does look like it. No, it is. It looks fixed. Oh, actually, it's when the order is processed or canceled. So I don't have enough quite in there because I have 8 ADA selected. So transaction fees plus the ADA deposit for liquidity, that's too much. So I'm going to go 5. See if that works. See if we can get this transaction to go through so you see what it looks like. Yep, sure enough. Okay, so now for 5 ADA, I can get 1,028 Sunday. This will read night on Monday. We don't know what the exchange rate's going to be. Some people are saying about 1 ADA is going to be 1 night will be 33 ADA is what they're guessing. We'll see. Market's always right. Estimations are terrible. So here we go. This is the overview of the order. I click submit market order. Waits for confirmation. That's when the wallet says, hey, looks like we're having to move money. Are you sure you want to do this? This is connected to Sunday Swap right there. So you must know about it, but we're just letting you know we need your signature. So spending password. I might have, yeah, I probably did that wrong because I had a typo there. There we go. Password correct, order submitted, and I'm good to go. Can go to view to the order and see in the history when it shows up. Now, the other thing is that I can also just go to my Emergo wallet, which you can't see it, but in the top bar, I've got my Emergo wallet. I click that, takes me to the tab. Sure enough, I've already got the ADAs gone. And so now I can go into my assets, clicking on assets on the left there. There's my Sunday. So these are the tokens. I've got the 1,028 tokens already. This is how much the value of the token is. It's 0.00484. Those are called Lovelace. The increments of ADA are called Lovelace. And the value is approximately 2.7 cents. And I own $2.86 worth. So tomorrow, or on Monday, this will be the process that we go through to get night. Now I'm using my Eternal wallet. If you wanted to, you could bypass Sunday Swap. You don't have to get it through Sunday Swap like I did. I like Sunday Swap, especially when I'm doing ADA tokens. Within Eternal, when you go home, you can see here, there's a swap function. And so you can do it directly inside. It's called the Monster Swap. The other one is called the Sunday Swap. This one's Monster. And what it does is it aggregates a bunch of different dexes that carry the coin. So aggregators and dexes will be listed here. And you can select your coin, whatever that is. Let's say it's the World Mobile coin, this today. And it'll pull. And this one here, this is Musili Swap. This one here, I don't even know what this one is. What does it say? Oh, Dex Hunter, another Cardano Dex. So it's getting the best price out of all of the aggregators and the dexes out there. It's getting you the best price right inside your Eternal wallet. And you can compare. You'd be like, hey, let's get it on. Oh, do we get it on Sunday Swap? Is it going to be cheaper or is it going to be cheaper here? You can always just test it out. So that's the process. Any questions on that?
Question, yes. Why use Sunday Swap when it's an extra transaction that you could have done just straight ADA?
I just did it for demonstrative purposes, so
Okay.
that you could see that's the process on how you would do it through a DEX,
I see.
directly on a DEX. Yeah, the swap here, this is going to be the most user friendly option, but the process is the same. When you click swap, it'll ask for your password, and away you go.
Okay.
But pretty nifty little exchange idea. Like, how sweet is that? No, there's your digital identifier that connects to your assets and all of the dexes that you can use to trade that asset. It's all behind a non-identifiable identifier. It's beautiful. Beautiful. It's crazy. I just had a flashback when it was early 2000s. I got introduced to an online casino, and I was excited about it because I was kind of like a multi-level marketing junkie. And so, hey Audrey. And so what I did was I started working this online casino, telling my friends all about it, and you can get these tokens and you can bet your tokens and you can win tokens from the pool, and everybody gets tokens whenever we do this. And we just built a business as an online casino. It was like one of the first ones, legal ones. And I remember going on this website. It was before there was even crypto. Going on this website and seeing how much these casino tokens were worth, and just being so excited because look, I can get all kinds of tokens and there are no taxes. It's exciting. This is way better because it's not an online casino. Oh, some of the degenerate opportunities I've taken. Oh my lord.
And look, we can become a millionaire.
Yeah.
Not necessarily in anything currency that's, we don't have to use $1 billion to buy something with, but we'll be a millionaire. Yay!
It's like getting credit card points, and your credit card company sends you a little message, say, look, you got 10,000 points, now you can get this pen.
Woohoo.
Yeah, exactly. Costco's actually worth it at that point. All right. Markets. We're going to go through it really briefly. There's not a whole lot happening today. I got to admit, I have not been paying attention to the news this past week to the same degree that I normally do. But what's the general consensus on Twitter is that Ethereum is probably going to go down some more. So if Ethereum's going to go down, might be seeing a little bit of a pullback on the altcoins. That's why we keep on coming. For me, I keep on going back to Bitcoin dominance. This will tell us more about the ratios, where money is headed, the flow, the bias of the market in accordance to the altcoins. This will give us a clearer idea. So right now, we can see that the Bitcoin dominance over the last few days has been dropping. We had throughout this week, this first week of December, it actually rose. Dominance rose. But it clearly has not been able to rise enough to even test this line here. Now, it might very well. This here has been support in the past. However, if we take the technical analysis of this, is showing us that we are headed downwards. Why? Because the long-term trend is from here. And to me, when I see this as like, this is a very aggressive wedge, because we're measuring the dominance of the market dominance of something, not the price action. So it's a fairly aggressive wedge that we have here. And this is a clean breakout from below that bottom line. So if we were to rise, this line here is going to be providing resistance. We also have resistance here. The two of them together will provide more market resistance. Again, technical analysis. I use the charts because it's math. It tells us the patterns. This is not trading advice, financial advice, and all that stuff. Do your own research. My bias is that Bitcoin dominance will continue to drop as altcoins continue to have more of the flow that comes into the crypto sphere. More of that flow is going into, real world assets and the BitTensors and the major XRP, of course, another big one. I think that we're going to see more altcoin dominance come through over the next little while. Again, because of this, but also the timing of where we're at, where we expect to be in the next 6 months, where I know the elites want to be in the next 6 months. And another chart that I wanted to bring up is this one here, because this is another good indicator of what the alts versus Bitcoin are doing. This is the chart for Ethereum. How many Bitcoin does it take to buy an Ethereum? So there you go. Ethereum Bitcoin. So this is a different type of chart. We're not looking at the price action in accordance to in accordance to the price, the value of it in US dollars or Canadian dollars. We're not looking at it in comparison to fiat. You can consider this chart to be similar if we were to compare how many ounces of silver would it take to buy gold. It's a similar thing, except this is the gold graph, and we're seeing Ethereum reflected as the silver, so to speak. So this chart here, our analysis, let's go to the weekly chart. It's like all over the place in here back in the day, October 17. No, actually, you know what? That is not enough data. Let's look at the daily chart. I'm going to hide this so we get a little bit more real estate here. Okay. What are some of the first things people notice? Audrey Lynn, Ian, do you notice anything? What are some of the first things you're identifying with this price action? This is spanning out since 2000.
That there's
late 2000. Go ahead. There's a delay.
Over the word ETH, there's a triple top.
Would that be called the head and shoulders?
Good question. No, I wouldn't give that a head and shoulders. Head and shoulders is going to be distinctly one, like this. This is almost, because we've got the left and right that are lower than the middle. But a head and shoulders pattern will not have a shoulder after this. This would technically be the shoulder. It wasn't technically a shoulder, simply because.
Sorry, is there feedback?
There is major feedback coming from Audrey Lynn. I think she's got her sound going through the big speaker in the living room. So this would be the first top, second top, getting higher, but then this being that legendary dip, great eye, legendary dip between the two triple tops. If it was to be a head and shoulders pattern, the next high after that peak, this would have come to meet this one, and then it would have just continued. We wouldn't have experienced the triple top. It's not saying that one is a more clear indicator than the other. It's two different patterns of the same price action, which is a reversal.
Okay, another thing I see there is that if you it hit the now you moved it again off to the left of the screen. It's off the screen now, but it hit a pivot point right there. No, the next one down. Yeah, right there.
Yes. Yep. Great eye. That one's for May 2018. Now, what else do you notice about this? I'm glad that I zoomed out a little bit more, because I just noticed something that I didn't notice before when I was looking at this. There's a banker's candle, so I just want you to pretend that doesn't exist. In fact, based off of the averages, I can do this. And now we have I'll draw it out. Go ahead, chat. I'll draw it out, and you'll see and see if you can pick it out.
Well, I'm looking at 2019, right above the number 2019, and you got another pivot point that goes straight across the board.
Oh yeah, another key one too, because it just hit it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. We call
I
this.
think the background sound is someone might be outside with the snow blower.
Oh, that's on my end.
Oh, okay.
No worries.
How loud did that come through, Audrey Lynn?
It sounded like your music.
It sounded like my music. Yeah.
Oh, okay, very good.
It's high and harsh.
So we have a descending wedge here. Technically, everything since 2019, January 2018, it's been consolidating. That first high up here, let's go like this. Can I do that? Yes. That high up there and this low here is the market structure at the moment. And we've been consolidating ever since. So Ethereum and gold I believe that as we, and this is only because look, the amount of money that's in cryptos today is just astronomical compared to how much it was in 2017, 2018. I believe we're going to see Ethereum and Bitcoin come to more stability the more money comes in.
So this chart again, this measures how many Ethereum it takes to buy a Bitcoin. Is that correct?
Other way, how many? This is the number of Bitcoin to get Ethereum.
Okay.
Yep. Very interesting. When you consider that Bitcoin is considered to be, it's being called the digital gold. Would that make Ethereum the digital silver? Especially considering how easy it is for people to create smart contracts with ERC20? What are your thoughts?
It makes sense with how suppressed Ethereum has been over the years.
Yeah. Especially with how much they've leveraged the ETFs with Ethereum. They've leveraged, like I talk about how much they did it with Bitcoin. And by volume, they certainly are maxing out on Bitcoin. But Ethereum is being used as a more aggressive ETF strategy simply because of how much more volatility it has in the US dollar. However, the volatility with Bitcoin is diminishing. Now, it doesn't mean that we're not going to break out and have a big price correction and head off somewhere else, but from a technical analysis perspective, let's just zoom out on the weekly chart and see how far out this goes, because we don't usually see a breakout until there's a pretty good buildup of energy and it's bouncing back and forth between those lines. It's not bouncing back and forth between those lines yet. This narrowing, look, it doesn't even let me go. 2034. Now again, we don't have a whole lot of data on the weekly chart. But from a technical perspective, this here shows me that we are seeing a stabilization between the digital gold and the digital silver simply because there's more liquidity coming in. There's more and more money coming in all the time. It might not be worth as much money, but there's more equity being placed into these two assets.
When you look at Ethereum itself, it has a reverse size pennant. In other words, the bottom side of the pennant, yeah, is going up and the
Yes.
top is level.
Yeah.
Now, does that mean, well, there's upward movement, obviously.
Mhm.
But there are people who are talking about Ethereum being worth far more than what it is, like
Yes. Absolutely.
several times more.
Hmm.
Um, and I presume that would affect the Ethereum BTC figures.
Yes, and that's where the breakout I think would occur is if we see Ethereum, the some of the figures that I've seen that make sense to me mathematically, $15,000 to $20,000. That would be quite something. I don't think that's impossible. That would definitely break us out of that pattern on this one, right? Because right now it's 3%, 3.3% of a Bitcoin to get one Ethereum. If Ethereum were to go up to 15 grand, that would definitely bring us down. That would bring us down quite a ways. Oh, sorry, no, other way around. Other way around. It would bring us up closer this way because it takes more Bitcoin to buy the Ethereum. That's again, if Ethereum behaves in similarly to silver, where Ethereum rises in value in the US dollar against Bitcoin. But this is like this is why sometimes I have a hard time and I get things mixed up because I think now so little in dollars. I'm thinking of that next thing. Like the other day, Audrey Lynn and I were chatting about gold versus silver, and I was thinking to myself, we were like in two different worlds. She was thinking of the value of it in gold, and what I was saying wasn't landing for her. Doesn't make it wrong to think in terms of US dollars, but it's a good practice to start thinking in terms of the next base currency. The US dollar is not, it hasn't been the world reserve currency for 2 years. So they're just riding on the fumes, basically. So if it were to go up, if Bitcoin, oh, there we go. If this were to go up where Ethereum rises in value, making it more expensive in Bitcoin to buy it, it would be because we're actually we're actually fulfilling on that deal that this could be 15 grand. But anything that happens, it's still this here. It has a long ways to go for it to get to the point where it's pushing against this. It's 85%. So Ethereum has to go up 85% in order for it to be pushing against resistance on the Bitcoin. It sounded like you were about to say something there, Ian.
I thought at first that you had it correct the first time they would take less Bitcoin to buy one Ethereum, but no, you're right. If Bitcoin goes up in value, it'd take more of one Bitcoin to buy this. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Now, I want to talk about this chart for a second. What you mentioned, this top here back in November 21, we just hit that. We couldn't beat it. And so we're kind of hanging back right now. This is an interesting point to bring up. Why is it really worth the same? Kind of brings us back to that thinking outside of US dollars. Remember 2021, what it was like? We were at this point here, November 2021, this was in the middle of the whole vaccine mandates. But this was also the end of the last alt season where things were going up. Like people were literally throwing $100 bills into a lake and then casting a net and scooping. They would miss out on tons of hundreds of dollars. The $100 bills were just going in, and then they would even dissipate, and they would completely be ruined by the markets. But they could also take a fishing net, dip it into the lake, and pull out thousands upon thousands of dollars. There were people who were randomly making 50x in a week during that last alt season. And Ethereum peaked out right up there, 46.95. 46, 48, 48.68. That's the high. And then that was 2021. And then we had inflation. Like, it was already on the rise in 2021, but remember what it was like in 2021? Do you remember being as angry about it as you are today in 2021? No. There's way more inflation. So sure, Ethereum went up and went bing and just went over 4,900, but it couldn't stay there. In fact, the previous high was higher than these shoulders. These ones here, the previous high. This is only 47.89. So it just eked out above it, and then it couldn't maintain that, and it's been dropping ever since, downward trend. But that high, sure, 49.61, but you and I both know that if you had one Ethereum at this point here, where it was worth 4,800, you and I both know you would not be buying the same amount of stuff. You would not have the purchasing power of $4,900. Because inflation made things worse than that. How do we know that? Because back here, I was looking at grass-fed, grass-finished beef, 2021. One grass-fed, grass-finished beef, 2,800 to 3,200, depending on where you were getting it. Today, it's 5,000. So inflation is actually giving us I should say this chart is deceptive because it shows us that it was the same value as it was back then, but it wasn't. It was the same dollar amount. And that's a big difference because inflation, because of the way inflation was in these past 4 years, we know that this 4,900, that's probably only worth, $3,500, maybe $4,000 back then. Inflation has definitely brought us up 25% in the last 4 years. If beef went from, the high 2,000s to over 5,000, that gives you a far better measure of a far better indicator of raw inflation than what the markets will tell you, which is like 8% per year. They're saying it's really high. It's 8% per year. Yeah, 8% per year does not equate to that, to what we've seen in beef. So, can you see the reason why I'm kind of going down into this and digging this hole pretty hard is because I want people to start shifting their mindset. Ethereum did not meet its all-time high. On the chart, it did. By dollar value, it did. But by purchase power, arguably, it's basically stayed the same. Even this rate here, this trend line probably follows, I would have to do the math, but look at this. This trend line starts June 2022 at 873. Today, that's only 1540. It's not even half, not even double, rather. So that line follows inflation, whereas that top line, that all-time high, does not. That line is following the dollar value. This line is following inflation. I think I've exhausted the point. Let me know if you've got questions about this. But that this is the mindset. We need to get away from the idea that Ethereum was worth the same here as it was here. Same thing with all of them, though. Like Bitcoin, even. It's like, how much of this price increase do we see a result of inflation versus an increase in Bitcoin's value? I don't know. One would have to actually do the math.
Well, I look back to 1979, 80, when gold shot up from $30 an ounce to 800.
Yep.
Was that increase indicative of inflation? Because then after that, it collapsed back to, was it
Yeah.
$100 or $200? Was it indicative? And that collapse was not reflective in inflation either. Um,
Right.
so maybe it's in an indicator of what might be coming in terms of an
I agree.
inflationary period, because there's no question that time frame from taking the dollar off the gold standard to 1980, inflation was huge. Like my
Yeah.
parents, for instance, bought 15 acres of land outside of the city of Vernon for $12,000.
Yeah.
My dad turned around, sold half that 3 years later for $30,000. They turned around a year later and sold that same property for $50,000. So,
Ooh.
it was crazy. I mean, it went from 8,000 or $800 an acre
Mhm.
to $4,000 or $5,000 an acre. No, even more than that. Several times. So, just within a matter of three three years or so. So, um, that was a hugely inflationary period in the early mid 70s to 1980. Um,
Mhm.
so that may have been reflective of the inflationary period. But when gold collapsed again, that did not inflation didn't follow the collapse.
Right. Yeah. Just gonna try to fix this green screen. It's discolored every once in a while. Yes, that is a well, I mean, on the chart here, 1,800% basically. And I would say that we are very, very much in a very similar situation simply because this here, I believe this marked the end. I don't think we'll ever see this price again. $2,000 US. I think what we've experienced is very similar to this, where it's like, down here, this was the last we ever saw this price, $102, right? This was 90. It was a big jump and another retracement, but I mean, we never saw that price again. I don't think we'll see $2,000 ounce of gold ever again, because by the time it ever were to come back to that, the currency would be obsolete. It's amazing.
Yeah, the world will be in a totally different state.
Yep. In the U.S. markets here, we've been seeing a good push over the last week, trying to push up another all-time high. But notice how this line has created a lot of resistance, and that line, the resistance line on that trend, which by the way spans all the way from 2024. Let's see if it intersects anything else. Yeah, it's even provided that trend line even provided support way down here. Look at that. So this trend line from September 2022 has been intersected and used as support and resistance all this time, and right now providing a lot of resistance, coming up against that intersection with the all-time high. Dangerous game to be playing if you're going along, especially after this. Like, this is just clear indicator to me that nobody should be buying during this time, but yet there they are.
What is it? Oh, because of that triple top, you're anticipating a significant drop.
Yep. Yep, going back to how we've chatted about that in the past, right? COVID had that extension and then a big drop.
Now, how do you think that's going to affect the price of like Bitcoin, for instance?
Well, again, we look at patterns. Again, history doesn't necessarily dictate the future, but Bitcoin had a pretty good fall, and it took after that, that low in the middle of March, it took 80 days for Bitcoin to recover. Same thing with the markets. Here's COVID, and this one took a little bit longer than that, but for it to come back, that was 239 days. So it will drop. We'll see a lot of people panic sell a lot of assets. Whenever there's a crisis, whenever there's a financial crisis, people go get cash. It's just the way it goes. That's why there are bank runs usually during those times, because there's not enough liquidity to handle all the people withdrawing. So there will be a drop. I think we're going to see markets go down all across the world. We'll see the Bitcoin, Ethereum. It'll all get a good kick in the nads, so to speak. But I think in the same way that we saw this triple top, like this triple top over here, that occurred across 542 days. 542 days. This triple top only occurred across 237. That's just within this year. Is that right?
How long was it from the last triple top to that drop in 2020? The third hit.
From here to here, that was 204 days. And today we are 132 days.
I thought 94 bars. I thought each bar is a day.
It is, but with this is being the stock market, they don't trade on weekends.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Yep. There we go. I didn't have much more for market analysis today. Questions, comments, queries? If anybody needs help, if going back through the video, if you need help with getting connected with your Eternal wallet, or if you want to get connected with one of the DEXs, let me know. Be happy to sit with you for a bit.
Can Eternal be set up on a phone?
You can set up Eternal on a phone. I haven't done it yet, but I was thinking about doing that just so that, especially to test it out. If I can swap back and forth between tokens right inside Eternal on the phone, that's nice to have. That is nice to have.
Okay.
I'm excited for Night. I think it'll be a wonderful evolution. It's going to really open up a lot of possibilities. I'm already looking at, like, as it is right now. Let's see if I can pull it up so you can see the preview here. So this has not been styled. This is just a very basic site. The only thing that I've done is that I've been starting to embed previous masterminds into the feed. But now the thing is that in this here, I'm going to create it, like you can see there's a disconnect button. I'm creating it the same way as the DEXs work now, where you can sign in with self-verification. There's no centralized server taking care of your username and your password. That's your responsibility. And I can disconnect, and then I've got the ability to connect with Lace. I can connect with Nami, and I can connect with Eternal. So depending on which wallet you have, you can just quickly connect.
What is Nami?
Nami is another browser wallet.
Okay.
Yep. And of course, because I am in development mode, so I might not be able to reconnect right now. I don't think I have the back end running, actually. Yeah, my back end's not running right now. But yeah, that's going to be the model of the website where you could see the front end stuff. You might just see, oh, now I'm connected. You can see the stuff, but if you don't have your wallet connected, you won't be able to comment or anything like that because you need to have an identifier in order for data to be written to the server. So you can create your own identifier and you can leave comments completely anonymously, but you won't be able to interact unless you connect your wallet. Then, of course, there's the next level where if you want to have access to the masterminds for next gen merchants, you're going to have to get the next gen merchant NFT inside your wallet before you connect. If it doesn't have it, then it's not going to work. So yeah, I'm excited. That's going to be a great addition to our community. And then we have completely private transactions or conversations too. I'm not going to build that right away, but version 2 of this will have its own little Telegram channel, so to speak. We can just use that instead. And then all of that data is all behind zero knowledge proof connection with your wallet. Oh, that's where I was going with that. I'm already starting to look at how can I retrofit what I have here? How can I turn that now into a Midnight wallet so that now you can connect to the website with a Polygon. You could connect with MetaMask if you want. You could connect with what else is there? Well, there's Tron. Tron Link has got one. This is one. Where's another? This is the beta Midnight one. This is a beta. So there's a Midnight wallet in beta now, and I don't remember my password because I was just testing it. Talisman. It's another very common wallet. All of these wallets. Here's one for this one here is for Solana. All of these wallets will be able to connect with Night. And so now I can just say, hey, connect your wallet, and Night will handle that connection in the background. So now anybody can connect to the site. Doesn't have to be people who are just Cardano users.
Question.
Yeah.
When it comes to forensics, and therefore the loss of privacy, the idea is that you can track transactions right back to the origin,
Mm-hmm.
So people are actually watching wallets even now online to see whether, for instance, I read a month ago or so that a Wales wallet, original gangster wallet, became active after being silent for, I think it was 12 years.
Right. Yeah.
And it was a Bitcoin wallet. So obviously it was a huge amount of, like, in the hundreds of millions of dollars worth of value.
Mm-hmm.
So people track those kind of things. So, I mean, that's why some people use mixers, is to create that veil, create
Right.
that privacy. Now, will Midnight create that privacy?
That's a good question. Midnight will further the privacy of a contract in this way. Let me get my. Yeah, hopefully this works.
I guess another way of asking the question is, if I make a transaction in USDC and it's received by another individual in Bitcoin, will they be able to trace that transaction through Midnight back to
Right.
my wallet?
The answer is no. And here's what's going to happen. Here's how it's going to be done. Let's go to. Come on.
Now, I guess the other question is, can they, like, even when it comes to a mixer, can they break or not break, but pierce the smart contract within the mixer?
Great. This is such good questions. And my chalkboard's not activating here for some reason. I apologize. I'll have to do it manually. So, to start, we go back to the history, how we had Bitcoin, Ethereum, getting like proof of stake, that development there. Cardano witnessed that we were going to have issues with the ERC20 protocol for these smart contracts because the smart contracts were sure the transactions were anonymous, but you, like you say, you could still track the money.
The wallet to wallet.
Yep, exactly.
You're not tracking the money. You're actually tracking the wallet to wallet transaction. Well, I guess
Yes.
that's tracking the money in a way, but yeah.
It's a direct chain of custody that
correct.
you're witnessing. You're witnessing the direct chain of custody.
Now, if I send somebody 100,000 USDC and they start piecing out they send 5,000 here, 15,000 there. I mean, it would be difficult to trace the money,
Right.
but you would definitely be able to follow the wallet to wallet transactions.
Yes.
You don't know who, but you can follow and the sum of their, let's say they send out to 15, 20 different wallets and the total sum happens to be 110,000 USDC. Okay.
Mhm.
Well, are they actually following the money or are they just simply following wallet to wallet transactions? I would venture you could say they're just following the money or the wallet transactions and speculating as to who.
And that's the best they could do is speculate simply because there's none of those wallet addresses have identifiable information attached to them.
Correct.
Now, what I believe will be occurring is that the exchanges are going to operate as that interface. Oh no, we don't acknowledge ADA as a legal tender. So you can't use it when you go to the store. You can't use it to pay your phone. You can't use it to pay your internet. You're going to have to get the stable coin in order to do that. But the only people that are going to be issuing stable coins are exchanges. So the exchanges are going to be the future banks. And that's how you're going to have to pay your stuff is through stable coins, which makes it all a taxable thing again because it's another currency of theirs. My encouragement is to show people, again, how to structure their assets. So all the stuff that's going on over in the fiat world is fed by, subsidized by the equity that is built outside of that realm. Now, coming back to what does Midnight do? Well, right now, while, we can say, these identifiers, these wallet addresses, they're not attached to any identifiable information. So the identifiers are not you can't track the identity of who has that wallet. However, when you look into the smart contract, because that's all public, it's like that's all just as open. The how a contract occurs, it has a contract address. Every transaction has a contract address. Well, that contract address has metadata in it. And that's all just as visible as the rest of the blockchain because it's all on a public ledger. So the parameters of the contract include the identifiers involved in the contract. So what Midnight does is that it says, no. Just like we were able to anonymize wallet addresses, now we need to anonymize contract addresses so that no one can see the identifiers behind the contract. Now it's just, there's a contract. We have no idea who's involved.
Yep.
So how do you make this, because I'm heavy into discussions right now on this subject, how do you make this into actual fundamental trusts? Because right now, CRA, for instance, came out with a rule, I think in last year or the year before, that now you have to disclose the the identities of people involved in a trust.
Right.
So if you have a domestic or a not domestic, what's the word I'm looking for? A registered trust here in Canada, and it's Canadian trust.
Yep.
You now have to disclose who the beneficiaries are, who the trustee is, who the settlor is.
Do you have to disclose them? I don't believe that you would have to disclose them if they did not, in that contract, identify themselves as a citizen. Because they only have jurisdiction over those accounts. They do not have jurisdictions over identities that are outside their realm.
Let me.
Yeah. If, let's say, for instance, you and me were to go in and I were to sign
Yep.
my name with the legal term that was given to me by my parents, then yeah, for sure, you better disclose that to Canada because it's their property. But if you and I go into a trust together and I do not identify myself as that, and I identify myself as you with myself, as myself, my I am, they don't have jurisdiction over that. You don't have to disclose who that is.
So I'm looking at the form that says beneficial ownership information of a trust. It's a CRA document.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the trust account number, annual beneficial ownership information, identification of reportable entities, and that includes a trustee, settlor, beneficiary, or controlling person.
Okay.
Entity classification, natural person, corporation, trust, or other. Entity name, date of birth if natural person, tax identification type, select one.
I got a natural person identifier for you.
Oh,
Yep. Isn't it right where this I think is how it's spelt. That's who you can contract with. You can let them know exactly the name of the natural person that you did business with.
free to go.
Yeah. Free to go.
What?
That's who you contracted with. That'll be the identifier that I use in the contracts that we have. How's that? It's my natural person's name. I can name myself naturally, however I want, whenever I want, in any moment, any given moment in time.
Sure.
I never have to identify myself as a person with parameters that were created by someone else.
Correct. Yeah. So the thing, I actually do have another name attached to a sole corporation sole.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Completely different than my name. But I don't necessarily have to use it as a corporation sole, but just say use it, but
Yeah.
there are some people that don't know me other than by that name.
Yeah.
But that comes from over 20 years ago.
Yep.
So the tax identification type, so natural person, okay. What about the date of birth of that natural person? Free to go.
I was not birthed. The natural person was not birthed, so bye.
Yeah, well, they would probably want that information.
I'm sure they would.
And then the tax identification type, not available. There are many types. There's a SIN number, BIN number, a TTN number, temporary tax number, trust
Yep.
account number, and an individual tax number. And then an international number as well.
Yep.
Interesting. I don't know where those come from. Country of residence, Canada, United States, other. They want to know that information.
Mm-hmm. And I guess my question is it required, because that's what it boils down to, is it required that I identify myself as someone else's property in order to enter a trust with you?
I understand what you're saying. my point of bringing this up is because what they are now doing is that they are fining for the lack of information. They are now fining you, and it's not cheap. Like it's thousands of dollars a month. They're fining you,
Right.
and that goes on. That goes against the trust or against the assets of the trust or whatever. So if there's a company that's doing business here in Canada and it's owned by a trust, they can fine the trust. And of course, that's attachable to the assets of the trust.
Right.
Um,
I think I know where you're going with it, and I recognize that they can do that, and I'm not going to try to fight that. I simply wouldn't create a trust in Canada. Like
Of
if you
course,
create a trust that's not in their jurisdiction, they can't ask anything about it.
of course, that part I understand, and you know that is part of a discussion on another page. Uh,
Right.
but uh, when you're trying to do a certain amount of business in Canada,
Yeah.
um, like you want to buy farmland or you want to grow hemp, you know, tens of thousands of acres worth of hemp or something like
Mhm.
that to get into the hemp insulation or hemp fiber and hemp clothing and hemp oil and whatever else other information or other stuff that hemp can get into. And not just that, there's also um, food. These
Mhm.
are these are all asset heavy industries. So either got to be able to take those assets out of the real world, out of the world where CRA knocks on the door,
Right.
or you got to provide the information they have. Otherwise, they will,
On that scale,
unless that those assets are fully, what's the word I'm looking for? Um, what's the word where you borrow money against an asset?
Leverage.
leveraged.
Leverage. Thank you.
Yeah.
Unless that asset is fully leveraged, and CRA can't get at it
Right.
because the bank is. That's what I'm thinking.
Well, then wouldn't you just simply set your finances, your finances in such a way that this company is the borrower of the trust, and they loan the exact amount of the trust so that it's kind of like a swap.
Yeah, we've got
That.
some very heavy hitters looking into this subject.
Yeah.
Uh,
Good.
but that discussion is front and center with CRA and
Hmm.
what these are the people looking into it are people that's their business.
I
Unfortunately,
would
they're
encourage them. They would speed up their process, and I don't want to make it seem like I know more than they do. I'm sure that they know that industry way better than I do. However, they would speed up the process if they were to research the basis of law that makes up the legislations that they are concerned about, because it's just Roman municipal law, which only governs the currency. And yeah, I know we want to be able to get work the land so that we can deliver products to the people. We want to be able to interact with everybody on a larger scale. Absolutely. And that goes back to the vitality, like the absolute vital importance of constitutional conventions, because the governance itself is leveraged over the use of the dollar. That is the only jurisdiction that the government has. And that it kind of goes back to the whole, we got to stop thinking in terms of the dollar, period.
yeah. In fact, the guy that is front and center in our local discussion is a CPA, and he says the only time any of this cryptocurrency stuff becomes an issue is when people convert it to fiat,
Yeah.
and that's coming out of his mouth. And this is a guy he's been a CPA for decades, and
Yeah.
that's his business. So, and that reflects exactly onto what you're just saying about the currency.
Yep. I'm encouraging, and I think, and I could be wrong, and I'm hoping that I am, that it's going to be a while before people form constitutional conventions and that have stick to itiveness. And the reason
As
I say
what?
that is that it sticks.
Oh, yes.
That lots of people are going to do constitutional conventions, and lots of people are going to be, they're going to be taking a lot of actions. But unless they themselves are practicing these principles, if they themselves would be negatively affected by being debanked, they didn't write their constitution properly. Period.
Correct.
If again, if the banks were to, well, I just got debanked in August of 2023, and I haven't looked back. I'm not
Yep.
even interested in opening another account. I don't need
Yep.
to, and nobody does. But it's the mindset of, I need Canadian dollars in order to do these things. Yes, you need Canadian dollars to do those things, but get the Canadian dollars from another form of any other form of equity other than the equity that you give to the system in exchange for the dollar.
Sure. Yep.
The dollar is like the attention token, and the attention, the time that you spend, the life force energy that you expend focusing on something, is far more effectively spent privately, which then you can exchange that equity, whatever it might be. You could exchange that equity for the piddly dollars you need, and it is a restructuring of the mind. I provide that analogy that we're given: be not of this world, but be transformed by the renewal of the mind.
Yep.
I have constantly the constant need to renew my mind as well, because I still think in terms of, what are people willing to privately engage with me in the equivalent of Canadian dollars,
Sure.
which is complex. It gets me stuck in that idea that I got to lower my prices in order to be worth it.
It's a paradigm. We think
It is.
our
Well,
paradigm is Canadian
the,
dollars.
the thing is until I am solely functioning, or even like 90% functioning, either in crypto or silver or Flurbos, my mindset is the Canadian dollars. Now,
Mhm.
although I'm born Canadian, I grew up in the States. So I, was familiar with Fahrenheit and distances and speeds and blah, blah, blah. And returning to Canada, it took me a really long time, and some things I resist on purpose, to convert my mindset. But it was because of usage. If I don't use it, I have all kinds of tools that I have to refresh myself as to how to use because I don't use them. But if I use them every day, it would be a no-brainer. It would be like a nothing burger. It would be like, oh, tap with your phone as opposed to pulling out your debit card,
Mhm.
right? They're both just as secure.
Yeah.
So it is that mind shift, and it is the doing with the mind shift that for me cements it.
Yeah. It's the old, I can give you the tools, but without the mindset, it's not going to work. And it's similar with the constitutional conventions. They're a wonderful tool, but if they're wielded with the mindset that got us into this nasty situation in the first place,
Yes.
it won't have that stick-to-itiveness. It will be dismantled by the system because it's inside the system.
Yes.
Yeah, it really, I kind of equate it to, the sovereign citizen, which is an oxymoron in itself, but that sovereign citizen movement where it's like, oh, let's go and do all of these wonderful steps and dot the I's and cross the T's so that we can be free. That's not how freedom works. You don't have to ask permission and fill
Yep.
out the right paperwork to be free.
That's
Or
right.
like the idea of, oh, we need to make a declaration of life so that they don't look at us as dead anymore. And I'm like, what do you mean? You have to
Yep.
report to someone to let them know that you're alive?
It's just like
You
this
know?
whole independence thing here in Alberta.
Yeah.
I don't think we have to ask permission of anybody,
No.
government, the
It's
court,
not
nothing.
called independence if you're asking permission.
That's right. It's the right of determination, or self-determination. But
Yeah.
we have to have sufficient amount of people who get together in like mind and say, "This is what we're doing."
There
Yeah.
aren't that many Albertans, Ian, to be able to to sway a vote.
Yeah.
who carry that mindset.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
really sad.
And this is again, I bring back, I don't think that that's going to happen anytime soon because the mindset has to be applied in the individual's sovereignty of finance first. Economics of the individual need to be self-governed before we can extend it to a community.
Remember Wednesday night's discussion on be, do, have?
Yeah.
We have to be of the mindset that we are sovereign so that we do the actions that announce to the world that we are sovereign, and then we are sovereign.
The being is like knowing the law and having it assist you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm going back to that game, and I need to build a game, and that becomes the night, right? Where if I'm touring communities, I just go and play this game that simulates the market that we have out at Brooks. And that we show people in that game how to build a market, because that's all it is. That's all we need. We just need exchanges. I mean, that's how they're doing it. So if they can build an exchange and tell us how to use their currency, we can build an exchange and we can self-determine how we use our currencies. It's beautiful. Everything we have is right there. Now we just need the mindset.
Yep. Being informs doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that, Audrey Lynn. We got to be sovereign first before we can do it.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to run.
Have a great rest of the day.
Blessings to you all.
And to you.